Good day, everyone. Today I stand before you to talk about two profound and transformative virtues, grace and forgiveness. These words are simple yet powerful. They hold the keys to healing our hearts, mending our relationships, and elevating our lives. Grace is an extraordinary expression of unconditional kindness, a powerful and transformative virtue that transcends mere obligation or expectation. At its core, grace is about giving more than what is required or deserved, extending compassion, understanding, and generosity without expecting anything in return. It is a gift freely given, not because someone has earned it, but because the giver chooses to act out of love, empathy, or the recognition of shared humanity. When we practice grace, we step into a higher plane of being, one where judgment gives way to acceptance, and retaliation is replaced by reconciliation. Grace is not about overlooking wrongdoing or pretending that mistakes don't matter. Rather, it is about recognizing imperfections in others and ourselves while still choosing kindness. This act of choosing compassion over criticism builds bridges in relationships and opens the door for healing and growth, even in the face of conflict or hurt. What makes grace so remarkable is its unconditional nature. It does not come with prerequisites or expectations. Grace doesn't demand that the other person change or even acknowledge their faults. It is a selfless act, a reflection of the giver's inner strength and emotional maturity. Grace says, I see your flaws, but I also see your humanity, and I choose to treat you with kindness. Regardless, this attitude not only uplifts the receiver, but also transforms the giver, fostering a sense of peace and fulfillment. In a world where competition, judgment, and blame often dominate, grace stands as a counterbalance, reminding us of the importance of empathy and connection. Imagine someone cutting you off in traffic or a colleague making a mistake that affects your work. While the instinctive reaction might be frustration or anger, choosing grace means pausing to consider the other person's perspective or circumstances. Perhaps they were rushing because of an emergency, or they are dealing with pressures you can't see. By extending grace in such moments, you diffuse tension and create space for understanding and patience. Grace also has a ripple effect. Acts of kindness and understanding often inspire others to follow suit. When you extend grace to someone, it can spark a chain reaction of positivity, encouraging that person to show kindness to others in turn. In this way, grace becomes a catalyst for creating a more compassionate and supportive community where people feel valued and understood. Living with grace requires mindfulness and a conscious effort to rise above immediate emotions. It means looking beyond actions to see the person behind them, recognizing that everyone has struggles and shortcomings. It is not always easy to show grace, especially in situations where we feel wronged or hurt, but it is precisely in these moments that grace holds the most power. Choosing kindness over judgment in the face of adversity is a testament to the strength of character and the ability to prioritize love and connection over ego. Ultimately, grace reminds us of our shared humanity. It is a quiet but powerful force that transforms ordinary interactions into moments of profound significance. By practicing grace, we not only uplift others, but also cultivate inner peace and fulfillment, creating a life that reflects the beauty of unconditional kindness. Grace is the purest expression of unconditional kindness, an act of choosing compassion and understanding regardless of circumstances or merit. It is a gift freely offered, unbound by the expectations of reciprocation or deservingness. Grace transcends logic and fairness, operating from a place of love, empathy, and a profound recognition of shared humanity. At its core, grace is an invitation to look beyond faults, mistakes, or shortcomings and focus instead on the intrinsic worth of every individual. It is not about ignoring the reality of human imperfection, but about choosing to respond with patience and kindness, even when it might seem undeserved. This quality of grace reflects an extraordinary strength of character, as it requires one to rise above immediate emotions like anger, frustration, or disappointment to see the bigger picture. The beauty of grace lies in its selflessness. When someone extends grace, they do so without any expectation of reward or acknowledgement. They act not because it benefits them, but because it nurtures a connection, fosters understanding, and promotes healing. Consider the moments in life when someone has shown you grace, whether it was a teacher who forgave a mistake, a friend who overlooked a misunderstanding, or a stranger who showed unexpected kindness. These acts of grace have the power to uplift, inspire, and transform, leaving a lasting impression on both the giver and the receiver. What makes grace particularly remarkable is its unconditional nature. It does not depend on whether the other person is remorseful or whether the situation warrants leniency. Grace simply gives because it chooses to. It operates outside the realms of fairness or justification, offering compassion even when it might seem unwarranted. For instance, responding to someone's anger with calmness or choosing to forgive a transgression rather than harbor resentment demonstrates grace in action. These choices not only diffuse negativity but also open the door to reconciliation and growth. Grace also serves as a counterbalance to the judgment and harshness often prevalent in society. In a world that frequently prioritizes criticism over compassion, grace offers an alternative path, one of understanding and connection. It reminds us that everyone is navigating their own struggles and that a single act of kindness can make a significant difference. By practicing grace, we create an environment where people feel seen, valued, and supported. Moreover, the power of grace extends beyond individual interactions. Its ripple effect is profound. One act of grace can inspire others to act similarly, creating a chain of kindness and goodwill. Whether it's forgiving a slight, showing patience in a difficult moment, or offering help without hesitation, grace plants the seeds of a more compassionate and empathetic world. Living with grace requires mindfulness and courage. It calls us to pause before reacting, to choose kindness over judgment, and to see humanity's inherent beauty despite its flaws. It's a challenging yet deeply rewarding practice that transforms not only relationships but also our inner selves. By embracing grace, we create a life filled with peace, love, and the profound joy of unconditional kindness. Grace is the manifestation of unconditional kindness, a gift of compassion and understanding extended freely without the expectation of repayment or acknowledgement. It transcends the boundaries of merit or fairness, offering solace in humanity where judgment or indifference might otherwise prevail. Grace is an act of profound generosity, a decision to see others not for their flaws or mistakes, but for their inherent worth as human beings. To live with grace is to embrace the imperfections of life, both in ourselves and in others. It is an acknowledgement that everyone stumbles, and no one is immune to error. Grace does not mean excusing wrongdoings or dismissing accountability. Rather, it creates space for forgiveness, growth, and healing. It is about responding to challenges and misunderstandings with patience and empathy, even when the situation might call for frustration or anger. Grace operates without conditions. It is not contingent on whether someone deserves kindness or whether their actions align with our expectations. Grace simply flows from a place of love and understanding. Imagine a situation where someone has wronged you intentionally or unintentionally. The natural response might be to harbor resentment or seek retribution. But grace calls you to a higher path, asking you to set aside bitterness and extend compassion instead. This act of grace not only relieves the tension, but also opens the door for reconciliation and a renewed connection. The power of grace lies in its ability to transform. It can turn moments of conflict into opportunities for deeper understanding and growth. When grace is extended, it fosters an environment where healing becomes possible, where individuals feel safe to acknowledge their mistakes and strive to do better. It does not demand perfection, but accepts people as they are, offering them the chance to rise above their faults. Grace is also deeply empowering for the giver. Choosing to respond with kindness and understanding, even in difficult situations, requires strength and emotional resilience. It is a declaration that you will not be controlled by anger, resentment, or the need for vengeance. Instead, you choose to act with love and dignity, creating a sense of peace within yourself and inspiring others to do the same. Moreover, grace has a ripple effect that extends far beyond a single moment or interaction. An act of grace, whether it's forgiving a harsh word, offering help in a time of need, or simply listening with an open heart, can inspire others to pass on that kindness. In this way, Grace becomes a force for positive change, spreading light and hope in a world that often feels divided. Practicing grace is not always easy. It requires us to let go of our pride, suspend judgment, and act with humility and compassion. But the rewards are profound. Grace heals wounds, strengthens relationships, and brings a sense of harmony to our lives. It reminds us that kindness is a choice, one we can make every day, even in the face of challenges. By choosing grace, we create a world that reflects the beauty and power of unconditional kindness. Grace is the purest form of unconditional kindness, a deliberate choice to offer compassion, patience, and love without any requirement for it to be earned or deserved. It is a profound gift given freely that transcends personal feelings, societal norms, and situational expectations. Grace is not just an action, it is an attitude, a way of being that reflects inner strength and a deep understanding of humanity's shared struggles. At its essence, grace is the ability to look beyond imperfections, whether in others or in ourselves, and respond with kindness. It is about seeing the bigger picture, recognizing that everyone is a work in progress. Grace acknowledges that mistakes and failures are inevitable parts of life, but they do not define a person's worth. Instead of focusing on faults or shortcomings, grace seeks to uplift, encourage, and nurture growth. It chooses empathy over criticism, understanding over judgment. What makes grace truly powerful is its unconditional nature. It is not given based on merit or expectation of reciprocity. Grace does not ask whether someone deserves kindness, it offers kindness regardless. For example, imagine a friend who has let you down or a stranger who acts rudely toward you. While it may feel natural to react with disappointment or frustration, choosing grace means responding with forgiveness and patience. This choice creates a space for healing and understanding, fostering connection instead of division. Grace is also deeply transformative. When extended to others, it has the power to heal wounds, mend broken relationships, and inspire change. An act of grace can be as simple as forgiving a mistake, offering encouragement, or showing compassion to someone struggling in silence. These moments, though seemingly small, carry immense weight. They remind others of their worth and encourage them to extend the same grace to those around them. In this way, grace becomes a ripple effect, spreading kindness and compassion far beyond the initial act. Moreover, grace benefits the giver as much as the receiver. To offer grace requires us to let go of anger, resentment, and the desire for control. It teaches us to focus on what truly matters: connection, love, and understanding. This process is liberating. It allows us to move forward without the burden of negativity, fostering inner peace and emotional resilience. Grace transforms our perspective, helping us to see challenges and conflicts as opportunities to grow rather than barriers to overcome. Living with grace is not always easy. It demands humility, patience, and a willingness to act with love, even in difficult circumstances. It asks us to rise above our ego, to forgive when it feels impossible, and to offer kindness when it feels undeserved. Yet these very challenges are what make grace so powerful. Choosing grace over anger, empathy over judgment, and love over fear is an act of courage, a choice to be a source of light in the face of darkness. Ultimately, grace is a reminder of what it means to be human. It reflects the best of us, our capacity for love, compassion, and understanding. By practicing grace, we create a world where kindness prevails, where people are lifted rather than torn down, and where unconditional kindness becomes the norm, not the exception. Grace is the embodiment of unconditional kindness, a profound choice to extend compassion, understanding, and generosity regardless of whether it is earned or deserved. It is a quiet yet powerful force rooted in empathy and love that transcends circumstances and reflects the best of human nature. Grace is not just an act, it is a mindset and a way of life, offering a path to healing, connection, and transformation. At its heart, grace acknowledges the imperfections in others and ourselves. It is the recognition that everyone stumbles, makes mistakes, and faces struggles we may not see. Yet grace chooses to respond not with criticism or judgment, but with patience and compassion. This response does not excuse wrongdoings or dismiss accountability. Rather, it creates space for growth and understanding. Grace shifts the focus from fault finding to uplifting, turning potential conflicts into opportunities for connection. One of grace's most remarkable qualities is its unconditional nature. It does not operate on a scale of fairness or reciprocity. Instead, it flows freely from a place of generosity. When someone wrongs us, it can be tempting to retaliate or harbor resentment. Grace, however, calls us to rise above these instincts and respond with forgiveness and empathy. By doing so, we release ourselves from the burden of anger and create the potential for reconciliation and mutual respect. Grace is also deeply empowering. Choosing grace is a decision to act with strength and dignity, even in challenging situations. It takes courage to let go of grudges, to offer kindness in the face of hurt, and to extend understanding when it feels undeserved. But in making that choice, we reclaim our peace and set an example for others. Grace demonstrates that kindness is not a weakness, but a profound strength that can transform relationships and communities. Moreover, the power of grace extends beyond individual interactions. When we show grace, we often inspire others to do the same. A single act of unconditional kindness can create a ripple effect, encouraging others to respond with empathy and compassion in their own lives. This cascading impact of grace has the potential to foster a culture of kindness where people feel valued and supported. Practicing grace is not always easy, especially in a world that often emphasizes competition, judgment, and retribution. It requires humility, patience, and a willingness to see the humanity in others, even when it is difficult. Yet it is precisely in these moments of challenge that grace shines brightest. It reminds us of the power of choosing love over fear, connection over division, and understanding over condemnation. Ultimately, grace is a reflection of our shared humanity. It is a reminder that we all have the capacity to rise above our imperfections and offer kindness that heals and inspires. Grace transforms not only the lives of those who receive it, but also the hearts of those who give it, creating a life of deeper connection, greater peace, and enduring fulfillment. In practicing grace, we contribute to a world where unconditional kindness has the power to change everything. Grace is a profound expression of unconditional kindness, a selfless act of compassion and understanding that is extended without expectation or condition. It transcends the boundaries of fairness, merit, or circumstance, offering love and acceptance in a way that reflects the depth of human connection. Grace is not simply an act, but a deliberate choice to see beyond faults, mistakes, or shortcomings and to respond with empathy, patience, and generosity. To extend grace is to recognize the shared humanity in others. Everyone carries their struggles, makes errors, and faces moments of weakness. Grace does not excuse these imperfections, nor does it dismiss accountability. Instead, it creates an opportunity for growth, understanding, and healing. It acknowledges the reality of human imperfection while choosing to focus on the potential for change and the value of each person. Grace says, I see your flaws, but I also see your worth. Grace is transformative, both for the giver and the receiver. For the recipient, it is a reminder of their worth and a chance to move forward unburdened by guilt or shame. For the giver, grace fosters inner peace, emotional resilience, and a sense of purpose. It shifts the focus from external circumstances to the values we hold within compassion, love, and patience. In practicing grace, we step into a space of higher awareness, choosing connection and harmony over division and conflict. Grace also has a ripple effect, inspiring others to act with kindness and generosity. A single act of grace, whether forgiving a transgression, showing patience in a frustrating moment, or offering support to someone in need, can create a chain reaction of positivity. It encourages a culture of understanding and mutual respect, reminding us all of the power of small, intentional acts of kindness. Living with grace requires courage and humility. It is not always easy to choose compassion, especially in situations where emotions run high or forgiveness feels undeserved. Yet, it is in these very moments that grace reveals its strength. It allows us to rise above our ego, to see the bigger picture, and to prioritize love over anger, connection over alienation. Ultimately, grace is a reflection of our shared humanity and the best of what we can offer one another. It is a gentle reminder that kindness has the power to heal wounds, bridge divides, and transform lives. By embracing grace, we not only enrich our own lives, but also contribute to a world where unconditional kindness becomes a force for lasting change. Grace is the ultimate expression of unconditional kindness, a powerful act of compassion and generosity that transcends circumstances, expectations, and the need for reciprocity. It is freely given, not based on merit or deservingness, but stemming from a deep sense of empathy and understanding of our shared humanity. Grace has the power to uplift, heal, and transform relationships, serving as a reminder of the profound beauty in acts of selflessness. At its core, grace is the conscious choice to respond with kindness, even in situations where it might not seem warranted. It is about seeing the flaws and imperfections in others and choosing not to judge, but to offer patience and compassion instead. Grace doesn't deny mistakes or ignore wrongdoings, it acknowledges them, but prioritizes the opportunity for growth and forgiveness over blame or retaliation. In doing so, grace fosters an environment where healing and reconciliation can take place. One of the most remarkable qualities of grace is its unconditional nature. It is not contingent on the behavior or actions of others, nor does it require acknowledgement or repayment. Grace is an act of giving without expectation, a reflection of inner strength and selflessness. For example, imagine someone making an error that causes inconvenience or harm. While frustration might be a natural response, grace calls for understanding and a willingness to move forward without resentment. This decision not only alleviates tension, but also creates a foundation for renewed trust and connection. The transformative power of grace extends to both the giver and the receiver. For the one who offers grace, it cultivates inner peace, reduces emotional burdens, and strengthens the ability to navigate challenges with resilience and patience. For the recipient, experiencing grace can be profoundly affirming. It serves as a reminder of their intrinsic worth and inspires them to extend kindness to others. Grace is like a ripple on water. A single act can spread far and wide, creating waves of positivity and compassion. Grace is also a form of liberation. It frees us from the weight of anger, bitterness, and the need to control or punish. When we choose to act with grace, we release ourselves from the grip of negativity, allowing room for love and understanding to flourish. It encourages us to focus on what truly matters: connection, empathy, and the shared human experience, rather than getting caught up in conflicts or grievances. Living with grace requires intention and mindfulness. It challenges us to rise above immediate emotions, let go of ego, and embrace humility. Grace does not come easily in moments of hurt or frustration, but it is in these moments that its impact is most profound. By choosing grace, we demonstrate courage and strength, setting an example that kindness and compassion are far more powerful than anger or judgment. Ultimately, grace is a gift not just to those who receive it, but also to those who practice it. It reminds us of the beauty in imperfection, the strength in choosing love over fear, and the power of kindness to transform lives. By living with grace, we contribute to a world where unconditional kindness is not an exception, but a guiding principle. Grace is the embodiment of unconditional kindness, a powerful choice to respond to others with compassion, patience, and understanding, regardless of their actions or circumstances. It is not about rewarding good behavior or punishing bad behavior. Rather, it is a decision to see people for who they truly are, imperfections and all, and to respond with empathy and generosity. Grace is the quiet strength that heals, reconciles, and fosters deeper connections. At its core, grace is the recognition that everyone is flawed and that mistakes are part of being human. We all experience moments of weakness, confusion, and failure. Yet, grace doesn't focus on faults or mistakes. Instead, it sees beyond them and responds with love and understanding. Grace recognizes that no one is perfect, but everyone is deserving of kindness. It's not about ignoring wrongdoing, but choosing to prioritize forgiveness and healing over judgment and punishment. One of the most remarkable aspects of grace is its unconditional nature. It is not something that is earned or expected in return. Grace is freely given, without any strings attached. It doesn't matter whether the person we are extending grace to deserves it or not. This makes grace truly powerful because it offers kindness, even when the recipient is unable to reciprocate or when it may seem unwarranted. Grace is a reflection of the giver's character, a decision to act out of love, not for recognition or reward. Choosing grace is a way of creating peace. When we respond to a challenging situation with grace, whether it's forgiving someone who has wronged us or showing patience, when we are frustrated, we diffuse tension and create space for understanding. Grace has the ability to transform conflict into an opportunity for connection. It doesn't mean we ignore the hurt or that we let others take advantage of us. It means we choose to focus on healing rather than on holding on to pain. Grace also has a ripple effect. When we show grace to others, we inspire them to do the same. A single act of grace, whether it's offering a second chance, providing comfort in a time of need, or simply showing patience, can spark a chain reaction of kindness. It creates a culture of empathy where people feel valued, supported, and encouraged to extend that same grace to others. This interconnectedness strengthens communities and fosters a sense of belonging. Furthermore, grace is liberating. When we choose to extend grace, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of anger, resentment, and revenge. It allows us to let go of the need for control and to embrace peace and healing instead. It teaches us to accept our own flaws and the flaws of others without judgment, recognizing that these imperfections are part of the human experience. Living with grace takes intentional effort. It requires us to pause before reacting, to reflect on the bigger picture, and to choose empathy over ego. In the face of conflict or hurt, grace challenges us to rise above our initial emotional responses and to choose kindness, love, and forgiveness. This can be difficult, especially when it feels as though we've been wronged. But it is in these moments that grace becomes most powerful, showing us that it is possible to overcome negativity and create a more compassionate world. In the end, grace is not just a beautiful ideal, it is a transformative force that shapes lives, strengthens relationships, and builds communities. By practicing grace, we cultivate a life filled with love, peace, and deeper connection, ultimately contributing to a world where kindness, empathy, and understanding prevail. Grace is the purest form of unconditional kindness, a reflection of our capacity to give love, understanding, and compassion without expecting anything in return. It is not bound by rules, fairness, or the need to be deserved, but flows freely from a place of empathy and humanity. Grace goes beyond simply being polite or kind. It is an intentional act of offering peace, forgiveness, and support, even when it is difficult or when it is not deserved. At its core, grace is rooted in the understanding that no one is perfect. Everyone at some point makes mistakes, experiences failure, or acts in ways that hurt others. Grace does not seek to deny these imperfections, but instead it acknowledges them with compassion and chooses to respond with kindness rather than judgment. Grace recognizes that we are all human and that mistakes, both our own and others, are opportunities for growth, learning, and healing. What makes grace so extraordinary is its unconditional nature. It is a choice to act with generosity without requiring anything in return. Grace is not transactional. It does not depend on how someone else behaves, how well they meet expectations, or whether they deserve it. This freedom from expectation makes grace so powerful. It offers a sense of peace that transcends the situation and promotes understanding even in the most trying moments. When we offer grace, we are not seeking to control others, but rather to build a bridge to empathy and connection. Extending grace also has a profound effect on both the giver and the receiver. For the one receiving grace, it can be transformative. It is a reminder of their inherent worth regardless of their mistakes, and it provides the space for them to heal, learn, and grow. For the giver, grace is equally transformative. It requires emotional maturity, resilience, and strength to choose forgiveness over anger, patience over frustration, and love over resentment. In giving grace, we free ourselves from negative emotions that hold us back and instead embrace peace and understanding. Grace also has the power to transform relationships. It allows for healing, reconciliation, and the rebuilding of trust after harm has been done. When we offer grace, we make it possible for the other person to change, to grow, and to make amends. It does not excuse the wrongdoing, but it gives them the opportunity to learn from it and move forward. Grace creates space for dialogue, for understanding, and for deepening connections, even after conflicts or mistakes. Furthermore, grace is contagious. When we act with grace, we set an example for others to follow. Our actions inspire others to respond with kindness and compassion, creating a ripple effect of positivity. This helps to cultivate a culture of empathy, where people feel safe, valued, and understood. In a world often marked by division and judgment, grace can be a unifying force, bridging gaps and fostering community. Living with grace is not always easy. It requires humility, patience, and the ability to look beyond our own emotions and reactions. It calls for us to rise above pride, ego, and past hurts, choosing instead to act with love and understanding. While it may be difficult, especially in moments of deep pain or frustration, grace allows us to transcend negativity and embrace a higher standard of human connection. Ultimately, grace is the foundation of a compassionate and understanding world. It is a gift that not only transforms the lives of those who receive it, but also enriches the lives of those who give it. By living with grace, we contribute to a more peaceful, loving, and empathetic world, where kindness and understanding reign and where every person's worth is recognized, no matter their flaws.